put people together with the leaders in our state. Our family's been prompting this for 20 years now. The idea is to let you see the leading people who are going to be leading you. And many times, candidates. We've had presidential candidates here. We've had congressional senators, governors here in the past. And this is a chance to get to see and hear the governor from North Carolina elect who will be serving us, we hope, for another 8 years. You know, when you're introducing people, if you're introducing people like we're tables with each other, I would have the governor here and others you want to introduce. I'd introduce you to all of you. Now, we have almost 1,000 people here tonight, so I can't introduce every one of them here. I can tell you that Don Guerin, former minority leader, you guys are staying, we talked about you a little bit, who's been a hard worker in the Republican Party. The Bill Banks family, you've got a chance to see Jenny Banks a moment ago. Bill's family has worked in Western North Carolina for many, many years. Steve Odom, who's served in this area. Bruce Briggs and the Briggs family are all here tonight. We'd love to. Bob Long, who's a good friend and has worked at Diddleston. We have a courthouse named for Jack Bates and Jim Bailey, who are not there with God now. We're not able to see them, but we remember them well for all the work they did. Bill Walker and others that's here working in Western Carolina. Keith and Shirley Chris, where are they here? Some, oh yes, good. These are some of the best people you can find. Steve Cool and saw a moment ago. I could go on, but I promised the governor's wife that he hadn't been home in all this time. And so we're going to try to get everything through. Pat McCrory was educated at Catawba College. He worked at Duke Power, starting in the beginning, right on through. One of the things that we both have in common, he learned to climb telephone poles while I was learning to climb trees. And we both have those spikes that go up, you know. That's you have a job like that. He had the courage to step forward and praise his name for City Council of Charlotte, largest city in the state. He was elected there several times, and then he ran for mayor. He was elected mayor 7 times in Charlotte, our largest city, and he had a lot of preparation. He's a fine individual, a person who's capable of running this state, and I'm proud to call him a friend and introduce him for you tonight, the Honorable Pat McCrory.
Now, only in Asheville do you drive up to the event and there are about 500 or 600 people lining the streets waving at you, holding signs. Only in Asheville. It's so nice everyone. I love this place. Nice signs, too. And most of the people wave with 5 fingers. Charlie Taylor, most times you compliment the people that introduce you. I'm not going to do that tonight. I got to tell you about Charlie Taylor and his family out in the audience. His wonderful sons and his unbelievable wife. We were talking behind his back earlier, and we all agree he's one of the worst riders I've ever been involved with. He drives along your mountain roads, because I've been in this pickup truck with him, with one hand, and he just assumes while going 65 miles an hour on a windy road that there's no one else coming in the other lane. What is the most incredible skill, however, is when he takes you on a tour of this incredible land that he's preserved, and these incredible waterfalls. You go back these dirt roads, and you got cliffs on both sides of you. Going in is not bad, but backing out with him driving 30 miles an hour with one hand, he's using the rear view mirror. He's ready to kick me off. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you are so glad to have a great U.S. Congressman like Charles Taylor representing. If they only would have listened to him 2 decades ago, this nation would be in a lot better shape. No doubt about it. He was talking the talk, and he actually did some action. And let me tell you this, your next U.S. Congressman, Mark Meadows, I didn't think you could get better than Charles Taylor, but you have, and that's with all due respect to Charles Taylor. I'm working with Mark Meadows. We've got some huge issues that I'm going to have to communicate with him and Patrick McCrory, your other representative in this area, we have an awful lot, because right now, the law of the land is Obamacare. And I'm sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States in addition to the Constitution of the state of North Carolina. And when I swear and put my hand on the Bible, I uphold my pledge. But I'm telling you this right now, both your congressman and me, we're going to be asking some very tough questions before we do any implementation in North Carolina. And we're going to make sure this thing has incredible ramifications that I don't think are that positive. But it is what it is. But all we can do is try to improve upon it. So I'm going to be working with Mark, Patrick, and other representatives in this area. Richard Hudson, who I'm very pleased to be a new congressman in North Carolina. We're going to ask the tough questions. Myself and the governor of Iowa and other governors in the past 2 weeks, I've worked with Governor Walker, Governor Jindal, Governor Christie, and many others, right next door, great governor of South Carolina, Governor McDonald of Virginia. We're all asking, we've already put down 50 questions that the administration has to answer before any governor makes a decision with regard to federal exchanges or state exchanges. So we're working together as a team, and I want to let you know this. I also need to just recognize a few other people in the audience. First of all, he's become a very good friend of mine and always has been. He's from Western North Carolina, and he's made a tremendous impact on the state in the past decade, serving on the Supreme Court and running for governor in 2008. And I'm going to say this for the first time in my electoral career. I've only had one person beat me in a political debate, and it wasn't Mr. Dalton or Mrs. Perdue, it was Bob Orr. Bob, please stand back. You and your wife have become good friends, and I might also add Bill Graham and I had dinner last night. Fred Smith and I have become very close friends. He's helped me in the Assembly of the Administration. And you know what? That's what it's about us Republicans. We ran against each other in 08, but we did not tear each other down. Had we torn each other down, we'd have another governor right now, and it would be a governor from our party. But that's the professional that Bob Orr, Bill Graham, and Fred Smith were. And I do consider them very close friends. And there's another close friend that's going to be your next Lieutenant Governor, Dan Forrest. Let me tell you, this guy, when you know him from Run Forrest Run signs all over the state. He ran with almost no money. He didn't tear down his opponent. I've never seen a person work harder in my life running for lieutenant governor everywhere I went, he was there a half hour before I was, shaking hands. And no one was paying attention to that race. But for him to win that race by such a small margin, I think is a real attribute to him and also to the voters of North Carolina. Dan, I can't see anybody here with the bright lights. But I'm telling you right now, there's not a lot of authority given to the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. He and I have already had 2 to 3 meetings together since the election. And we have promised that we're going to work as a team regardless of what our authority says we can and cannot do. Dan is going to be next to me because, first of all, I'm real cheap and I'm a conservative and I'm real cheap in adding more resources. I plan to use Dan, the Lieutenant Governor, as a resource to solve our problems in North Carolina. Obliged to work with me. He can work against me. He doesn't even have to come visit me if I call him. That's the way our Constitution is at this point in time. But we have already said we're going to work together. I think I found the first problem for him to work on. I saw these protesters down there. Good luck, Dan. Actually, let me tell you what we're thinking about working on. And it actually does have something to do with what the people of Asheville do care about. I respect the people who are expressing their opinion. Do not take that as any disrespect that I'm going to crack a few jokes. I respect the great thing about our democracy. The great thing about our democracy, and my gosh, you take advantage of it in Asheville, is people have the freedom of expression. That is great. But let me tell you right now, in North Carolina right now, we do not have a long-term vision on what we're going to do about our water supply, our energy supply, and where our transportation plan is in the future. And Dan Forrest is going to be a partner in helping me develop that plan and presenting it to the people of North Carolina so they clearly understand where we plan to spend the limited dollars that are available in state government. So Dan, get ready to work. You're going to be a great teammate. You come from an incredible background with your architectural business experience. Is exactly what we need in state government. Give Dan Forrest a round of applause. Thank you to so many of you who worked so hard to get me elected. I didn't take it for granted. Your sweat equity, your financial contributions will be forever remembered. But the way they will be forgotten, because part of the culture that I'm bringing into state government is this. It's not how much you give me, which is going to make me decide what I do and who I hire. I'm going to do what's right, and I'm going to find the best talent to run North Carolina government. From day one of the night of the election, and on election night, I stood up and said, I'm honored to be the next governor, but my goal was not to be governor of North Carolina. My goal was to lead and to make a difference and fix a broken economy and broken government that we have in North Carolina. That was my goal. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. I'm going to go identify what the problems are, admit that we have some problems, and we're going to fix them. And I'm not talking about short-term fixes. We're talking about long-term fixes. So the next generation will have the same quality of life that we've so much enjoyed here in the greatest state in the United States of America. We have to think long-term. So let me tell you what I've been doing since election night. I actually went to bed early that night. When they announced it on Fox reported McCrory wins, my family, a lot of supporters were jumping up and down. My wife and I looked at each other with absolutely no enthusiasm whatsoever, and we said, well, I guess this is it. So my wife turned to me and said, you need to get up early in the morning and get to work. And that's exactly what we've been doing since election night, is working. And we're doing 3 things. First of all, my number 1 objective is to find talent that I can place in state government to make sure we're running the most effective, efficient, and customer-oriented type of government in the United States of America. We're going to start treating you as customers, not as their adversaries. And that was a commitment that I made in our campaign. But I've got to find this talent. We're going to be running a $20 billion operation. I have 3 more weeks before I'm sworn in to find the talent necessary. Now, I've already spoke to some of your leaders in this audience during the past 30 to 40 minutes. And I said, get me the names of talent that are problem solvers, that are visionaries, that are strategic thinkers, that understand finance, that know the difference between operating and capital, that can read a balance sheet, that can make the tough decisions, because those are the people that we have to have in our administration. And I want people from this area to be represented, but unless you step up to the plate, I don't know you're around. So I've told your leaders that. I'm looking right now as we speak. Okay? And it's a very, very short time period that I've got to find the talent that are willing to serve on boards, commissions, and work for state government. I'm not looking for people to come work for state government for a career in these appointments that I have. I want them to come work, solve the problems, and return back home and get things done back home. Is that okay with y'all? And the third thing it's doing is, since day one, I formed 13 different working groups of customers who have used the services of state government. External customers, not the insiders, but external customers. And I've asked each of these working groups that within 5 weeks submit me a detailed report, an action plan on what we need to do to fix each of the departments that the governor is responsible for, from DOT to Commerce to DENR, the list goes on. We've got groups working on that right now as we speak. I've also got another group working on tax reform in the state of North Carolina, so we'll be more competitive in Tennessee, South Carolina, Virginia, and the rest of the But the main thing that we're doing is attempting to set about a culture of customer service, a culture of efficiency, a culture of action. And I need your help. This is not going to be easy. I've got some short-term issues that I've got to deal with within the first month in office. The number one issue is this. We owe $2.8 billion to the federal government for unemployment compensation. I'm going to be working with the wonderful members of your state delegation to try to figure out what's the best way to pay that back. I don't like to owe anyone money in my private life or in my public life, and we're going to get out of that debt. Second thing is something I've already mentioned. This healthcare issue is going to be impacting every one of you and every business for generations to come. Even though it's the law of the land, we're going to do everything we can to make sure it's implemented correctly in the best way. And when we can, in Congress, governors have agreed to work with both the White House and Congress to change those things that, no doubt in my mind, are not long-term solutions to our healthcare problems. And this is an immediate thing that's on our plate right now, which has unbelievable ramifications. Let me conclude by saying this. As I'm sworn in on January the 5th in Raleigh in a private ceremony with my family, on January the 12th, we're going to have the public ceremonies and we're going to have some festivities. And I'm doing some things with the Junior League, and I'm doing some things with the veterans, and I'm doing some things with the think tanks to try to help me in the future and to help our state and community. But I'm telling you right now, the first visit that I'm making, even before the formal ceremonies on January the 12th, the first visit I'm making as governor outside the city of Raleigh will be coming back here to Asheville, North Carolina. January 5th or 6th or 7th, I forget the exact date, it's that Monday or Tuesday, right after I'm sworn in. And then we're going to spend the night up at the Western Residence. And I'm going to hopefully have some of your legislative leaders and local elected officials, Republicans and Democrats, where we're going to talk about what's needed for the western part of the state. I'm going to begin that dialogue the first week I'm in office, right here in the West. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some great challenges. But I firmly believe now more than ever, it's time for a Carolina comeback. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a Western Carolina comeback too. Thank you.